if you've got a didgeridoo and wondering if you've got holes in it or if you've got a crack in it, you're not sure whether it's gone through to the other side and you want to check it with a very non-intrusive way, easy way of doing it, here's a method you can use that I use all the time, which is just two things you need. So I'll switch around the camera. That's the didgeridoo we're looking at in question, which I have just recently repaired. And the other thing you're going to need, so you need your didge obviously, and the other thing you're going to need is a torch. One torch and one didgeridoo in need of repair, possibly. So if we look at this didgeridoo, I've done a few things on it lately, but one of the things I've had to do is, if you see this line here, so this is obvious here. It's not obvious at the crack, there's a crack all the way through, but it might be a potential problem because you can see the line that runs down it like that. So what I did a check on it because I thought it might be leaking a bit of air, you know, when I was playing it. So what I did was I take the torch and the didgeridoo into a dark room. Right, next thing, turn the torch on. So where's the didge? There's the didge. Right, so one of the things you can do is get the torch and down at the side of the didge here, get the torch and put it right where the crack is, like so. And I'm going to film the top of it. You might not see it, but let's give it a go. Right, so now I'm moving the torch down over the crack and you might see a little dot. You might not, but there's another way of doing it as well anyway. So, right, so that's that method. So the other thing to do is, I've got the top of the didge here, get your torch and shove it down the didge, like so. But now I've got the torch down, I can see the light shining through from the inside of the didge to the outside. So I know that there's a gap there, and there we go. That's because the torch is inside the didge, and that's that. Right, so now we'll come outside. That's one really easy way of doing it. Let's put the didge over there for a minute. So there we go. What I did was I put the didge down inside, right inside the didge, and lowered it down inside, like, you know, down to closer to where the marks are here. And then I could see the light shining out of these cracks here, of this crack in particular. So that's how I tracked it. And also the other thing was I put the torch against there, as you saw, inside, and I could see the light with my eye right enclosed over the top here. Basically, let's just come around the other side now. Basically, it's as simple as that. Now, what I do afterwards, I then, to seal it, I use some glue. But what I use is like a PVA glue, and I water it down, depending on how large or small the crack is. If it's a larger crack, I might just put the reason I use PVA glue, and I use a particular type, I'll show you which I use. I tend to use this Evo-Stik weatherproof glue because it just works well when you've got water and moisture in it. If it's a really large crack, I'll use some sawdust. If I've worked on this stick and I've got some sawdust of it, I'll use the sawdust from the stick and mix it with the glue. If it's a large crack, I've actually done it on the inside of another stick and mixed it because there was a bigger gap there, and then it works really well, you know, as a filler. But when you've got very small cracks or even pinpoint holes, you can see pinpoint holes with the torch method as well. You know, if the pinpoint hole goes straight through, you'll just see a little dot of light inside the didge when you've got your eye inside, on the top through the mouthpiece. or you know, the mouthpiece was off when I was repairing it, so that's just recently been put on. So I've glued that already. Now the thing is, because the glue is transparent, when you run the torch back down on the outside of it, it'll still shine through. But that was the first point to allow me to find it in the first place. So now all I've got to do is check the outside and see that the outside's sealed with the glue. And I can tell with that, and I can closely inspect it. You know, if I need a torch on it or a bright light, I can see that it's sealed with the glue. That's the main thing. And also what I might do is I might use inside a longer stick and get some glue to drop inside the hole from the inside as well. And I'll often do that as well, so that it's sealed from both sides. It's a bit more awkward. What I tend to use there is a cocktail stick. So I'll use that, and I'll dab the glue. When it's watered down, I'll just get tiny little droplets of it. So here's a cocktail stick. I'll go down the line and put tiny amounts of watered down glue so it seeps right in. The reason it's watered down is so that it seeps right in, you see. And the didge will be laying flat on the ground so that it will soak in. It doesn't want to be upright. It wants to be laying horizontal with the opening, you know, with the hole on the top side. And I'll go and do that all the way down. And then if I want to do the inside, I might use a larger stick like that. And then I'll get it down on the inside. Again, this side will then be laying downwards, and then I'll drop some glue in the inside. But you have to be really careful with this because you don't want glue all over the place. It's a very surgical job. You know, you've got to be a surgeon, a didge surgeon, basically. So it's called didge surgery, this session. Oh, actually, I don't know what I've called it. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, that's it. So use a torch. All you need to use a torch. You can track down any holes. And obviously, if it's further down the didge, it's hard to hold the torch. So you can always attach the torch onto something and then move it down the didge. And even if you can't see the hole, I mean, there are usually giveaway signs like blemishes on the didge, or if it's painted, you might not see it. So you'd have to just carefully scan. You know, if you think sometimes when you're playing, you can feel there's a slight loss of air. If it's a tiny pinpoint hole, you won't notice it. You know, it's only when the hole's slightly bigger that you get the air escapes, you know, it starts escaping, then it becomes more obvious, and then you've got to find the hole. Anyway, just a quick tip, really, in how to find holes, pinpoint holes, and any gaps in the sticks that need to be repaired. That's all for today.